We thought we might be in Manhattan, Kansas for game day until the shocking upset of Oklahoma at home last week. Kansas Sooners bounce back as they always seem to do under Stoops. Can K-State keep the miraculous season going? 3:30 Eastern time is kickoff. Now, Tom Rinaldi here visited Manhattan, Kansas to visit with Bill Snyder. Tom, if you had to have a coach of the year at midseason, how could it not be the 72-year-old Snyder? He retires, names in the stadium, program sinks, he comes back and revives it. None of us saw this coming.
You know, obviously, Snyder, we know the story of the miracle of Manhattan, and certainly the work ethic, the 115-hour work week, legendary and famous. But if you think the example is Vince Lombardi or Bear Bryant, actually, he gets a lot of inspiration from a children's story from Pinocchio and the caring wood carver, Geppetto, who, through his devotion and hard work, created his own piece of magic.
I've always loved the story of Pinocchio. Had a great appreciation for Geppetto, the characters, and what they stood for.
Now I have just a name for you. Pinocchio.
The sideline is the wood shop for Bill Snyder. And for 20 seasons across 2 tenures at Kansas State, teams and players are what he's shaped and molded. If the Pinocchio parallel seems like a stretch, just look in Snyder's office.
I have 1,000 pieces of Pinocchio stuff, pictures and statues and just so many different things.
Snyder should believe in fairy tales. He's authored his own. Back in 1989, he took over a Kansas State team on a 27-game losing streak, a program with 4 winning seasons over 5 decades. In time, he crafted a miracle. Snyder took the worst team in America, and 10 years later, in 1998, led them to the #1 ranking in the country.
Still #1 in the nation. Things are starting to look up for Kansas State.
He left in 2005, only to return 3 seasons later. He found inspiration, in a way, in Geppetto, the old shoemaker who crafts and creates Pinocchio, and through dedication and devotion, makes him real.
Geppetto, he put things together. That was his role in life. And I think that's a little bit about what we do.
If Pinocchio's power is clear to Snyder, the details are a bit fuzzy for some of his players.
Oof, it's been a few years. You want the story of Pinocchio? I don't know if it's on my top 10 most played, but a young man with a father figure. An older gentleman carved a figure of a boy out of wood. Somehow he came to life. I guess that's probably about as far as I can get with you there.
For a coach in his 70s, leading players more than 50 years younger, the message and moral of his favorite fairy tale still connects, based as much on Snyder's caring as his coaching.
Coach Snyder being able to carve out within his players, character and, great discipline, and, us having an attitude, that really exemplifies what it means to be a man of great value.
God has given us all this life and a block of wood, so to speak, to do with it what you will. And he's put Coach here way back in 1989, and I think the story is not over yet either, and that block of wood is still being carved and formed.
K-State, predicted to finish near the bottom of the conference in preseason polls, is 7-0. The season's story is still unfolding. The coach still carving, but he knows how he'll feel when he's finished.
Geppetto sat on his sofa and had great feelings about how Pinocchio turned out.
Snyder went through great pains to stress that building a program is the work of an entire staff, and wanted to thank all his dedicated coaches. But no question, Chris, the man whose name is on the stadium is the center of the man who pulls the strings.
Tom, I like the idea of Pinocchio as an analyst. Every time you say some BS, the nose grows. I like that. Today, Snyder squares off with Bob Stoops. Bob was a young 29-year-old assistant on Snyder's first staff, and Stoops has taken some heat for the multifaceted meltdown for Oklahoma last week. But we said it before, his team's no bounce back. 16 straight wins following a loss in that same season. Goes back to 2003, and the next longest streak like that only goes back to 2007. That's the reason why there were 2 touchdowns touchdown favorite in Manhattan against the Cats, who have just found ways. But until the beatdown against Kansas, you had a 6-0 team that was being outgained on the season. The last 4 recruiting classes average rank about 80th. Are you kidding me? Colin Klein, though, tough Colorado kid, throws it pretty well, but he's built himself into a runner. Yeah. He's a tough red zone runner. 14 rushing touchdowns down there in the red zone, tops in the nation. Arthur Brown playing through some knee pain. He's been hobbling around. He took some snaps off against Kansas. Got to be fresh. Got to stay on the field today against OU to have a chance. And Meshach Williams leads the Cats with 6 sacks. A Georgia native via Hutchinson Junior College. Symbolizes that kind of hard scrabble personality. Snyder has a good eye for talent in junior colleges. Guys know if they come there, they're going to play. But if you looked at the personnel and the recruiting ratings of this matchup today in Manhattan, you give them no chance, but they just find ways to hang in.
And it started about 4 or 5 weeks ago at Miami. But with that being said, Colin Klein's finding ways to move the football, but they are dead last in the Big 12 in total offense. For them to have any chance, it's about special teams, defense, and turnover margin. All 3 areas, they've been very, very efficient. And against Oklahoma right now, Oklahoma, you got to think, after the way this game last week went for them, Des, against Texas Tech, they're going to show up inspired. Yeah. Brent Venables and Bob Stoops, I'm sure, took that defense back to work, back to the chalkboard, and will have them ready to play. I think Kansas State's been a great story.
Exactly.
Today, but today it ends against Oklahoma.
A great story with Bill Snyder returning to Kansas State, but you have to look at Oklahoma's, not only their talent level, but their leadership, too. I think their leadership is going to rise to the occasion. They're going to come out and play inspired. They're going to beat Kansas State. But it's been a great story so far this year, Coach.
Yeah, but yes, remember one thing. It could be a struggle for Oklahoma because Kansas State is 13-3 under the Snyder. 13-3. But they win. Oklahoma wins by 2 touchdowns and a field goal.
Well, they're getting healthier. I mean, Jamel Fleming coming back. Stoops says Wart is back.
Gotta have those guys.
Gotta have them.
Whaley, who had the flu last week, he's back. So it's a different Oklahoma team than the one that lost at home.
If they looked at that film last week, they should be dying to get back on the field. They were out of position, bad pursuit angles. They were flat.
Yep. Red zone, they've struggled. You get Landry Jones, you got all those hyped guys. They've struggled in the red zone. Meanwhile, RG3, the nation's top-rated passer, school record.